Hey everyone, it's Darth Nihilus here, back to you today with another video, and today I will be talking about the fact that I fucking hate Valentine's Day, and the fact that that holiday, or whatever the fuck it is called or considered, is extremely annoyingly overrated. And I'll start off this video by saying that, for people like me who are black-pilled incels, virgins, in other words, that holiday is extremely torturing to guys like me. It's just so very tormenting and agonizing and causes men like me excruciating emotional pain because, of course, I don't expect any of you normies to ever possibly understand where, us incel men come from, because obviously you can't relate to us, you don't have anything in common with us, you can't resonate with us, and therefore you don't understand us. What we go through in our suffering is way beyond anything you wretched ass normies could ever possibly comprehend yourselves.
Are you seriously gonna sit there and boldface tell everyone that the people who have been single on the holidays somehow don't understand what it's like to be depressed when they're single on Valentine's Day? Because let's be honest, there are plenty of people who've had past relationships who have also been pretty sad about being single on a couple's holiday. It's not an incel thing, it's a lonely person thing. It's not entirely dependent on whether or not you're an incel, that you're alone or feeling lonely or depressed on Valentine's Day. There are a lot of people who have had relationships or even are in relationships who sometimes feel lonely and depressed on couples' holidays because either their partner is at work and can't be there, they might have other constraints that prevent them from spending that time together, yada yada yada. But the fact is, you're acting like other people are not capable of feeling the same kind of suffering just because they aren't in the woods screaming about it like you are.
Because you live your lives in like a fucking bubble, if anything, since you had just such a privileged, spoiled life yourselves. And it just seems like you've had everything good happen to you, just blessing after blessing after blessing, fortunate thing after fortunate thing after fortunate thing. And the fact that compared to us incels, you normies are very lucky, and you love your lives, you enjoy your lives, you're so annoyingly happy, so much to the point it's cringe. But imagine just for like a second, just for a moment, being an incel, being a raging virgin, being a miserable, depressed, suicidal, dark-minded, constantly nonstop 24/7 tormented incel virgin man living in this bullshit world of ours where, like, imagine like going out in public, for example, especially on Valentine's Day, and then you see all these young happy couples. It's only understandable that when us incel men go out in public during a day like that, not that I ever do or ever would, obviously not, I wouldn't be stupid and dumb enough of making such a retarded decision of going out in the world in public on Valentine's Day, where everything will just be so focused on Valentine's Day and all the young happy couples who are so very fortunate, lucky, blessed, privileged, spoiled, and all that. And seeing that shit just makes my blood boil. It just triggers the fucking shit out of me. And you know what? Even when I go out in public, even on any other day of the whole year that it is not Valentine's Day, I still see young, happy couples, or at least I myself personally assume they're happy. And even if they're not, I don't give a fuck, because they're way better off than me. for so many reasons and in so many ways, and they have a way more fulfilling life than compared to mine, like a way more fulfilling life than I ever had myself or that I could ever possibly imagine, since I never did have a fulfilling life for any reason at all. And to be honest, I never will. Sorry. So when I see these young couples out in public, I just can't help but hate them.
Okay, first things first, it sounds like literally everything you've done has been just one stupid ass fucking decision after another, so why would this video be any different? Again, you don't have the right to hate random people who've done fuck all to you. I understand if someone's like, well, fuck, my life's a little bit rough right now. Maybe I should try to do something differently. Or maybe anything at all in that general direction, where you may attempt to try to rectify what you feel is making your life difficult for you. But you've not tried to do that. You've basically just gone about bitching about your problems, but doing really nothing to try to resolve them. You've done nothing in the hopes of trying to handle your issues in a responsible or respectable manner. Like all you do, this is all your videos are, all the fucking time without fail, is walk into the woods, cry, 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 cry about things that are not anyone else's fucking fault. And then just spastically fucking screech about people just not happening to fall into the same dumbass margin that you've made yourself into. Here's the thing, people didn't make you an incel. They didn't sabotage your life. They didn't fuck you up mentally. They didn't go out of their way to damage you so that you'd be this way. A lot of these things are a direct result of you realizing that you had a problem when it came down to trying to socialize with other people, and you just fucking chose to do nothing at all about it. That's it. You have no right to complain and blame others and shit and hate on others because, for whatever reason, people need to feel bad because you decided not to take any personal accountability or take any fucking initiative to try to get to know people. Like, crippling anxiety is real. Like, fucking serious depression is real. But do you know what else is real? Being a self-indulgent, whiny fuck who constantly acts like all of their problems need to take center stage in the entire world, and if they are not being pandered to, they act like the whole world's out to get them and out to fucking destroy them. There's only so long before you need to realize that you are your own worst enemy. And the thing is, though, you admit that you don't feel entitled to women. You admit that you don't you admit that you don't think that you deserve a woman, or feel that you do not feel entitled to women in one of your own videos in the title itself. But then at the same time, you say that, but then you immediately act in such a way that it kind of flies in the face of what you've just fucking said, because it starts to sound more and more like you do feel entitled when you start trying to go above and beyond to vilify and antagonize those who disagree with you or who happen to be slightly better off than you. You have the right to ridicule and admonish Holiday for becoming this commercialized clusterfuck where people more or less take advantage of the holiday and they try to capitalize on the fact the holiday was made to ensure that couples spend their money and their time together to get each other things that are otherwise overpriced and like they're undervalued in terms of what they actually mean. If you wanted to criticize the holiday for being an overly commercialized shill instead of what its initial intent was, then you'd be well within your right to criticize the holiday for those reasons. But when your entire argumentation against a holiday is just other people are happy, therefore they shouldn't be because you're not, well, I'm sorry, but that doesn't come off as relatable. It doesn't. Let me tell you a little story time. When I was in middle school, I was I was single for like a while in middle school because of the fact that I just didn't fuck with anyone. I didn't want to be involved in any relationships because, let's be honest, in middle school, your relationships are kind of fucking meaningless because you're like a dipshit kid. You're a slightly less intelligent dipshit kid than you are in high school. But the fact is, the relationships in middle school are practically meaningless because they really don't help you learn anything about being sociable or being able to handle a dating atmosphere with someone your own age because it just doesn't work effectively. At least not in my condition. It didn't feel like it actually meant anything because you're just a pair of dumbass kids. But the fact is, there was a time in middle school and even time in high school where I was single for a little while. But the thing is, though, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it was sad. It kind of sucked being single for a bit in middle school and high school. But I didn't need to bitch about it. I didn't need to antagonize and cry about it because someone else was happy and I wasn't. Because I wasn't angry at them for being happy. I couldn't even like find it in myself to care enough to be upset with these people because them being happy was not an impediment to my life. Other people should not be penalized just because they're doing better than you are, unless they're doing better than you because of ill gotten gains they have not rightfully deserved. And stop saying fucking privileged every single goddamn time you refer to people in relationships. It wasn't like their daddy walked up and bought them a prostitute. They have a relationship because they had the balls to approach the person and try to actually offer to spend time with them and get to know them better. That's not the same thing as this person falling out of the fucking sky to suck their dick. I don't know what kind of fucking delusional mindset you have, where every single fucking time you see something, you automatically have to believe that it's been gifted to someone by some sort of power on high. It hasn't. A relationship exists because the two people either were attracted to each other and felt like they wanted to spend time together to see if they were compatible enough to have a long term relationship, or someone finally just decided to grow a pair of. They just grew a fucking sack and asked someone out. I mean, let's be honest. When I met the missus, I decided to ask her out because, like, well, look, I am attracted to her and I'm interested in her, but at the same time, I don't know if it's a good time to try to approach someone this way. But I finally just said fuck it and went for broke. Now, realistically, me looking back on it, it's like, yeah, the way I kind of went about it was kind of some awkward, fumbling bullshit, but that is kind of to be expected when someone's, like, been in, like, a series of short relationships and they don't really know how to approach someone. Because most of those short relationships were more or less the same kind of awkward, fumbling relationships that didn't really aid in properly understanding how deep a meaningful relationship could be. But the fact is, I wasn't given the relationship with her. It wasn't like I just randomly teleported through the fucking wall and next thing I know we were together. Like, I took time to get to know this person, to spend time with them, to learn about who they are as a human being, besides just what they look like. People like you don't do that, though. And the reason I say you don't is because a lot of the things you do are just fetishize, 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 fetish. That's all it is. Like, you and your unhealthy shit fetishism should be an excellent example about why it is people like you don't really do well in relationships. It's not just because you're not enterprising enough to approach someone. It's also because of the fact that a lot of your fetishes and interests would most likely turn a lot of women off. And the weird part is, a lot of the women that you'd turn away with those kind of fetish and interests are the kind of women that you would actively try to pursue. But yeah, there's no point in being angry and spiteful and pissy about people being happy that aren't you. Because they're not being happy in spite of you. They're just being happy and you happen to be there. And the fact that they're happy is like you're somehow interpreting it as them doing it out of fucking spite. Which I don't fucking get. I don't get how you can just look at that and decide they're hating me because they're wanting to hurt me. No, they don't know you. They don't hate you. They just don't know who you are. They're not socializing with you because they most likely have no clue who the fuck you are. And people having lives and socializing with each other should not automatically be a mark against their character just because they're not socializing with you. Seriously, you're a grown man, but you have like the teenage girl's mentality of if I can't have them, nobody should. And you're having the same mentality towards relationships where it's like, if my relationship doesn't exist, no one else's should either. And then you're trying to argue with people about whether or not that's a healthy way to look at the world. It's no argument. It's no question that it's not healthy because you're just angry and bitter and hateful towards everyone around you. And you're trying to sit there and tell yourself that this is like a reasonable way to behave. It's not. No one with fucking common sense looks at that kind of behavior and says, "Yes, this is what my life should fucking be." No one.
and be so very jealous, envious, and angry at them. And in my defense, I think that's only understandable. But of course, only other incel men, such as myself, could understand where I come from when I say that, when I have feelings and thoughts like that, which I have had and harbored for so many years. I mean, even since I was a damn teenager, I have felt this way. I felt this way to such an extreme, severe level ever since I was a teenager. And you know, it sucks going out in public. Again, even on a day that's not Valentine's Day, because young, happy couples are every fucking where I go. All the fast food restaurants, all the grocery stores, they're always going out in public and doing things and living it up and living in the moment and just having such a great, fantastic, fulfilling life. And just having success after success after success and accomplishing things and just making their mark in this world. You know, leaving behind a legacy at least of some kind or sort. And, you know, the thing is, like, I hate that shit so much with all of my broken heart. With all of my blackened, torn apart, broken heart. I hate seeing young couples out in public. That literally always ruins my whole entire day whenever I see that shit. Especially if there are guys with really smoking hot girlfriends or wives. That crushes me on the inside, internally. It takes such a massive toll on me emotionally, and it, again, it just literally wrecks and destroys and ruins my whole entire damn day. Even if I was maybe a little bit happy for a moment, for just a brief, short, quick blip of a moment, or if I was at least trying to be happy for whatever reason, I'm always just immediately in a just split second, in an instant, just crushed all over again every time I go out in public and see all these young happy couples. And it triggers me the most and makes my blood boil when there are guys who have attractive girlfriends or wives. That is by far the worst thing that I ever have to see or experience whenever going out in public. And so imagine being an incel and going out in public on a day like Valentine's Day, which would even be that shit, but to a more amplified level or extent. I mean, seriously, that would just be so triggering, so stressful, so depressing, so agonizing, torturing, and tormenting. And, you know, Valentine's Day is just such a stupid, retarded, dumb, moronic, foolish, ridiculous, lame, pathetic, pitiful, wretched holiday. I don't even know why the fuck that it was ever created in the first damn place.
The holiday was actually made on account of the legacy of Saint Valentine, who had secretly initiated weddings for Roman soldiers behind the back of the Emperor Claudius during the 3rd century AD. He had allowed these young men to get married to young women behind the back of the emperor because the emperor had forbade that men and women marry when they were about to go off to war, out of fear that the men may actually allow their wives to inherit their property and land upon their passing in battle. The reason that he is commemorated with the holiday Valentine's Day is because he also allowed young men and young women to marry who were not from the same Roman caste system, which allowed wealthy men and unwealthy women to marry each other behind the emperor's back, and vice versa. And that's why it was allowed. It was also openly shown that he allowed these young men and young women to maintain correspondences with each other through him in messages that we now call Valentines before we started dumbing them down to be cheesy fucking one knockoff cards. They used to be actual letters that he would allow people to pass back and forth to each other using him as a carrier pigeon. He was more or less the patron saint of young lovers being allowed to be together and spend time together. even in the face of uncertainty. That was what the holiday was mainly about. The holiday was more or less created to allow people who might not have had a chance in love or in marriage to have a chance at it, because that way they would have some chance at a likely a happy life if they would return home from battle. Let's be honest. The soldier that knows he's fighting to return home to his wife is going to fight that much harder and be that much more willing to try to do everything to survive, rather than the guy who just comes there with the obligation to defend the emperor, knowing for a fact that all he has waiting for him is maybe a commendation and an attaboy from from his boss. At which point he'll probably be more willing to let himself die, because there'd be no real motivation or real, I guess you could say, incentive to return alive, except for just being alive, which in those day and age might not have been a sufficient enough motivation to come back alive from a deadly war. So yeah, the holiday does exist for a good reason, even if you might not necessarily like the holiday because of, well, incel. Like, if you want to criticize the holiday for valid reasons, that's fine, but you're not criticizing it for valid reasons. You're just pissing and moaning because you don't like being single on the holiday. And there are plenty of people that don't like being single on the holiday, but they don't take to the internet to complain about it. They just try to do things to spoil themselves, because they can spend the time and the money on things they like instead of getting someone else something, if they really feel so inclined to be one of those self-indulgent spoiling days for themselves. A lot of single men and women do it all the time. They'll spoil themselves on Valentine's Day because they don't have someone else to spend the holiday with. There are people that do that, and there are people that are quite comfortable doing that. Look at a lot of widowers and widows. They'll often do that to celebrate the memory of their late spouse, or they'll do it just to try to sit down and relax and just enjoy the fact that they had this person in their life. A lot of people that were widows or widowed use it as a day to reminisce about the person that they loved most. And usually it's like an actual very classy, very happy kind of affair, because they're able to just kind of say, you know what, it's okay. Like, things just didn't go the way we planned, but everything's all right now. Even if it's hard some days, it's all right now. But you're complaining about the holiday because you're single and that's it. Like, you don't really have a valid reason. You're basically just pissing and moaning about a fucking nothing burger.
I think that is a total outrage, in my personal opinion. I think Valentine's Day should have never been a holiday, ever, in the history of this world. And I think the people who made this country and developed it and created this system of ours, or society or culture, whatever, were idiots. Just flat out idiots. Because they made so many stupid, fucking, dumb, retarded, idiotic holidays. Like, Valentine's Day is by far one of the worst, most pointless, unnecessary holiday. And then Christmas, Halloween, Easter, fuck all of them. I mean, seriously, fuck each and every single one of those holidays. But especially, most of all, I would say fuck Valentine's Day. Fuck that bitch ass holiday. And all the normie, retarded fuckers who participate or partake in such a shitty holiday such as that. And the reason I say that also is because, obviously, when it comes to normies, people who are normal, they're obviously going to participate or partake in that bitch ass shitty holiday of Valentine's Day, when they themselves have been in relationships since they were teenagers, and in their 20s, and possibly got married in their early 20s and had kids, or maybe in their late teens for that matter. So obviously those people, most of all, are going to definitely celebrate Valentine's Day and love the shit out of it, and are going to be such suckers for that holiday and kiss its ass and just worship it.
To be fair, most men don't really care that much about Valentine's Day. Most of the time, they celebrate it as a way just to make their wives or girlfriends happy. That's usually what it's all about. It's usually just, if they're happy, you're happy kind of fucking thinking during that particular holiday. It's like, this person will be happy so long as we can actually celebrate this holiday and just celebrate being together. I mean, it's the same thing with anniversaries. I mean, anniversaries don't mean shit to anyone outside of your relationship, because it's a commemoration of your relationship with this other person. It's basically the same thing, except on a different date with a very different set of criteria and context applying to it. Like the only real difference between Valentine's Day and an anniversary is that the anniversary commemorates the start of your relationship or the start of your marriage, and Valentine's Day commemorates the legacy of an old priest from the Roman Empire who, most likely, if the Roman Catholic Church still held the same kind of power that it did back in the day as it would now, the same priest would have been responsible, most likely, for causing these young men to be married to their wives or seeing their girlfriends or courting their girlfriends during this particular time if history had been very similar to the way it was back then. But the fact is, commemorating this person's legacy is what makes Valentine's Day different from an anniversary. And as I said, a lot of men do it just to make their girlfriends or wives happy. It's hardly ever for themselves. Even gay men will actively explain that yeah, it's for their boyfriend or their husband. It's never really for just them. Most of the time, the holiday is of mutual benefit. Because let's be honest, when it comes down to the holiday, every couple in the world, at least those that are in an apt position to do so, are most likely going to be fucking that same night. And if they're not, they're watching movies, chilling out on the couch, binge watching Netflix, or eating takeout with each other. Or just chilling out with a bottle of wine and some flowers. Let's be honest, a lot of this is just done so that the person can butter up their wife or their husband. That's usually how it goes. The holiday is mainly just done as an excuse for commercialism to take advantage of an otherwise hallowed tradition, as well as the fact that it openly finds ways for people to buy new things for the bedroom. People that understand. I'm not going to go into any more detail than that, but usually that's how it works. It's usually just a couple's holiday designed to promote commercialism and allow people to be more hedonistic with each other behind closed doors.
I mean, that holiday is just ridiculous. I hate that holiday. I hate the fact that it was ever invented or created in the first damn place. And I hate the stupid fucking bitch ass moron, idiot, whoever thought of creating it or inventing that holiday as far back as he or she did. I don't know who invented that holiday, but whoever it was an absolute moron and a fool to say the least. And the thing is, like, us incels already have to deal with seeing couples every single fucking day everywhere we go. And as if that's not already bad enough, which it is, then they have to make an entire holiday surrounding the whole idea of, men and women in relationships, whether it's boy and girlfriend or husbands and wives. Like it's as if this society or culture of ours, this world of ours, is only making our lives more of a living hell by creating an entire damn holiday for still just only one day, but still, it's an entire day, an entire 24-hour day surrounding the whole idea and concept of, couples and people in relationships. And obviously, by people in relationships, I don't mean, gay motherfuckers or lesbian motherfuckers or even bisexual motherfuckers or like trans couples or whatever. I mean specifically normal straight couples between a man and a woman, whether it's boyfriend, girlfriend couple or husband and wife couple. Now, Valentine's Day is just, I don't know, it's garbage.
What you're not really taking into account here is the fact that the holiday had been created centuries before anyone had even considered the possibility that there'd be people like you in existence. The holiday had been established centuries before people even knew that anyone like the incel movement would exist. You can't really blame people that have been dead for centuries for shit they had no idea was going to happen in the future. You're basically just bitching and moaning because dead people didn't plan for the existence of incels. No one planned for the existence of incels. Hell, even incels didn't plan for the existence of incels. Like, you guys didn't, I guarantee an incel didn't wake up one day and say, I'm gonna be this way for the rest of my life, and that's gonna be the way I want it. Now, there are Sigma males who have kind of resigned themselves to the fate that they're not gonna get married and have kids, but the thing is, though, these men have kind of they've accepted it. They've more or less resigned themselves to their fate, and they're not angry or bitter about it. They just kind of accept it. But the fact is, you're acting as though people that have been dead for centuries should be upset with the fact that they created the holiday, despite the fact that, well, they've been dead for centuries. I mean, back during the Roman Empire, people didn't know there'd ever be a such thing as incels, because let's be honest, most young men in the Roman Empire that didn't get married and have children and go off to war, they became eunuchs, or clerics, or priests. They became people that would more or less serve as scribes, or philosophers. They would document historical events and study mathematics, history, and everything in between that. They would essentially devote their entire lives to studying. That's what they'd fucking do. They would devote their entire lives to intellectual pursuits, and therefore they would not be concerned with fornicating because they were entirely concerned with pursuing their own intellectual increasement. They were pursuing their own gains when it comes down to intellect. They were entirely focused on achieving academic excellency. That is what they were concerned with. A lot of these young men might have been gay, but the fact, seriously, like, why are you attacking the trans, gay, and bi people? I don't understand why you're attacking them. And if you're not attacking them, then I don't get why you need to, like, spit the words out of your mouth with such a degree of fucking hostility. Like, they're out of their way to fucking ruin your day. Because we all know how many gay men, or lesbian women, or trans people, or bisexual men or women just absconded with your opportunity to have a relationship. If you think Valentine's Day sucks, imagine being in South Korea where they have 7 couples holidays. Yeah, you heard me right. 7. There are 7 couples holidays in South Korea, so you might want to count your fucking blessings. Another thing, why do you care what day it is? It's not like anyone's going up to you and forcing you to be miserable. You're making yourself miserable by allowing it to be something that you even care about at all. You don't need to care about whether or not you're single. There are a lot of people who are much like you, who kind of had the fucking rotten hand of genetics that gave them social anxiety and shit. Made it hard for them to talk to women, therefore they're still single. Hell, my best friend is still single too. He doesn't bitch about it. He doesn't wake up and scream about it on the internet. He doesn't, like, send me paragraph long messages about being single at 28 years old. He doesn't do that. The dude straight up just says, "Yeah, sometimes it sucks, but I realize I still get to do whatever I want. I still have the freedom to do whatever I choose. I don't have to run anything by anyone. I don't have to constantly call someone to let them know that I'm running late or that I'll be home whenever I can get there. Like, I leave when I want, come home when I want. As long as I'm going to work and paying my bills, I have no problems." Like, that guy has freedom. I'm not complaining about my relationship, but there are definitely constraints in a relationship that you more or less have to accommodate for when you realize that a lot of what you're doing is now shared time with someone else instead of entirely your time. But the fact is, people are not out to get you, they're not trying to ruin your life. You're acting like people that have been dead for a long, long ass time are somehow responsible for the holiday impacting your life. Nobody planned for you to exist in terms of incels actually being a thing. So I don't get why it is you're acting like the people responsible for making the holiday did it to spite you.
That whole entire holiday, if it is called and considered a holiday, which I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure it is. I'm like 90% sure that Valentine's Day is a holiday. If so, fuck it. Fuck that whole entire day. Fuck that whole entire holiday. It's garbage. It's pure sewage. And it should have never been created or invented in the first place. And, I wish it never was. But unfortunately, it was. And obviously, there's nothing I can do to change that. But I can at least, speak out about how I feel about such a shitty ass holiday like that. And I also can bash it, rant about it, and just flat out condemn it to hell, because that's where exactly I think that holiday and anyone who participates or partakes in such a holiday like that should go, straight to hell.
So you want to condemn other people to burn in the lake of fire forever and ever till the end of fucking time because they're celebrating a fucking holiday. that's not really doing anything bad to anyone in the general public whatsoever, except for existing in a location where you can physically observe it or hear it. You must be a real fucking riot to be around at parties. I can't imagine how much fun it would be around someone like you who just sucks the fun out of fucking everything because they need to hate shit to feel like they're right. Honestly, how do you live your life without putting a fucking razor blade in your arm? Like, I'm not telling you to hurt yourself, I'm just confused. I just don't get your fucking mindset here. I don't get it. I don't understand the mindset of someone who's so angry at nothing that they need to make everyone else the problem. What for? This doesn't sound like an existence worth fucking living. If literally everything you fucking do and say is just out of spite for people that don't even know you existing and living their lives. I will never be able to fully grasp the fucking lunacy of such an idea where you need to basically condemn other people to burn in a lake of fire and suffer forever for no reason at all, except the fact that they happen to enjoy and celebrate a holiday that you personally don't like or understand. How the fuck does that make sense? I mean, here's the thing, you claim to be one of those deep, understanding guys, but you don't seem very deep, because that's the kind of shallow bullshit someone says when it's just out of fucking spite. Like, all the time, you constantly try to brag and boast about how philosophical and deep you are. You're not deep or philosophical. A statement like that just kind of proves the fucking point that you let your anger towards other people dictate what you believe is right and wrong. I mean, you're not even letting the morality and ethical background or lack thereof of someone's decisions become the deciding factor in whether or not you hold an opinion about a certain person or position or a holiday or an action. You're basically just saying other people deserve to suffer and burn forever and ever because I don't like Valentine's Day. Like, that's the long and short of your fucking reasoning. Is that you want other people to suffer for no other reason at all, except the fact they celebrate a holiday that upsets you. A holiday which, need I remind you, is not made to hurt you or spite you or make you angry. It is just made so that people in relationships can celebrate being together, because in ancient times they might have been forbade to see each other on account of a lot of the wars that the Roman Empire was in, if the Roman Empire had that kind of sway on the United States or the world. But remember, you won't research the holiday you want to bitch about because you'd rather just complain about it like a 12-year-old talking to everyone like he thinks he knows everything, when really he's about as smart as a bag of shit.
Because, I want nothing to do with that holiday, and I, want nothing to do with couples, young couples especially. And the thing about me is I don't really mind or have a problem with old couples, which, a lot of you may think is weird, strange, bizarre, but I don't. And by old couples, I mean couples who are like in their 80s, 90s, and their 70s, in their 60s even, 50s, like people who are old couples, I don't care about, I don't have a problem with or issue with. But when it comes to young couples, as in like people who are couples in their 40s, 30s, especially 20s and teens, those are the people who I have a major problem and issue with. Young couples. I don't have a problem with or care about people who are old and in relationships. That doesn't bother me. It doesn't offend me. It doesn't affect me in any way, shape, or form. It is only young couples that trigger the shit out of me, make my blood boil, and make my life a living hell without even realizing it.
Okay, well, you just fucking said it yourself. They don't even realize it. So why the fuck should they be penalized if they don't realize it? Why then should they be punished for things that they're not doing intentionally? If someone does something by accident, they should not be penalized for it, especially if the accident is completely outside of their control because they are unaware of the fact the accident is even occurring. Same thing applies to the people bothering you without knowing that they're bothering you because they are also in the public. Also, like, do correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that the only reason that you're bothered by young couples is because young couples are having sex and it frustrates you and angers you. because you're not. Here's the thing, you're allowed to feel that way. You're allowed to personally feel lonely or depressed about not being in a relationship. I'm not trying to tell you how to feel. But what I am saying is that taking all of your problems out on others, when every bit of it is entirely in your hands to do something about, that's when people need to start looking at you and just telling you to get your shit together, because the way you're conducting yourself is not conducive of a healthy environment and a healthy mental health state. There's no point in being angry at people who haven't really done shit to you intentionally. It's the same reason that there's no point in being angry about something that a person does when they're not even aware that you're in their general vicinity. If a young couple are sitting at a restaurant eating, they should not feel like shit because they are there when you happen to be there. Same thing applies to really any public position. A person should not be made to feel like it's their fault that you don't do something with your time. It's not their fault that you decided to allow everything that was up with you to basically run your life. At the end of the day, responsibility falls to you to try to make your life better. But you've openly complained about self improvement and saying that it's for normies. So tell me something. Why complain if you know you're not going to do anything differently? What the fuck is the point of walking into the woods and screaming about your fucking problems if doing so is not going to change anything? I don't understand why it is you even fucking bother if everything you do is just you bitching about things being shitty without actually taking any initiative to try to pursue some kind of change. What the hell's the point of doing that if you openly show time and time again that you don't care to change and you don't want to? So why should anyone care? Why should you need to waste your time making these fucking hair-ass videos if every single time you make the video, it's just you complaining about things that you don't really care to do anything about yourself? Why should someone give a shit at that point? And more importantly, why would you keep wasting the energy to make the fucking videos?
Which is the worst part. And the most depressing thing is also, like, people who are in relationships who are couples as teenagers, when I'm almost a 30 fucking year old man myself, a 30 fucking year old virgin man, almost 3 years away from that shit, that is. And I never had any kind of relationship with a woman. And I obviously never will, because, you know, I'm not going to ever talk to women, never going to bother with them. I don't see any reason or point in doing so. I think they're a waste of time, effort, and energy. And I think women should make the first move. And in the future, I plan to even make a video about that, explaining in like a lot of depth and detail as to why I strongly feel and believe that women should make the first move when it comes to getting into a relationship with a man. And um, the thing is, I just feel so dead inside when I see and know that there are so many people in this world who have been in relationships since they were teenagers. And whenever I see teenagers who are in relationships when I'm in my late 20s, and I never had anything close to that shit. And I obviously never will. Because if I'm being completely honest and realistic about myself and my situation in my life, I'm literally going to die alone. I'm never going to have anything good or great come out of my life or come into my life or whatever. I'm always going to be alone, always going to be miserable, and suffer from crippling chronic depression for the rest of my life. I'm always going to be stressed out. I'm always going to be, guilty and ashamed and crushed and broken and torn apart and miserable and heartbroken and all that shit, because I never had any success in my life. I never accomplished anything in my life. I never had anything fulfilling come out of my life.
Again, though, you admit to openly seeing no point in getting involved with women. You openly say that you don't care about spending time with women, that you don't want to put the effort forward. Well, if you don't want to put the effort forward, then what's the point? If you're not going to put effort in anything you do, what the hell's the point? Now, it would be nice if women would make the first move. I'll give you that little caveat. However, the reason a lot of women won't make the first move is the same reason a lot of guys don't. It's because they don't want to come off as the weirdo that's approaching a total stranger out in public. Not everyone has the kind of charisma where they can just walk up and crack a joke and make the other person giggle or laugh to try to break the ice. Some people are like, I don't want to come off as a creep, so I'm not going to approach this person because I feel like this would just end badly, regardless of whether or not my intentions are simply to say hello or to actually approach them with some kind of romantic interest. It doesn't matter, and I don't want to risk it, so therefore I don't. It's that it's that kind of mentality that a lot of people fucking have, really, because they don't want to come off as the crazy girl that's trying to just randomly snag dudes from the bar or from the mall. And it's the same reason that the guy working at the fucking bagel stand, for example, might not want to talk to the girl that's a regular that's always coming out and buying the same thing over and over again, that they seem to really talk well and hit it off when she's ordering, because he doesn't want to come off like a fucking weirdo who's reading way too much into their interactions. Like, both sides equally face that kind of, I guess you can say, anxiety when it comes down to approaching someone that they might be attracted to. It's just the fact there's only one side's predominantly more willing to talk about it, and it's primarily because of the fact that, well, men do often get shit when they try to talk about being afraid to approach someone. I'll give you that. I understand the fear of approaching someone because you don't want to come off as the weirdo. You don't want to make the person uncomfortable and have it become one of those things where you can't go back to that place again. I've been lucky enough to avoid those kinds of circumstances, but still, it is one of the things that you really want to avoid. But the fact is, you openly admit that you don't want to put forth the effort. Like, you don't want to put forth the effort, then why try? The whole thing just seems like a meaningless bunch of nothing. And when it comes down to it, there's no point in being jealous of people that are like half your age about them being in relationships, because a lot of middle school relationships don't work, and a lot of high school relationships, although they may work in high school, they might not necessarily work for the remainder of the people's lives. They might separate shortly after high school because they find out their personalities have become too different. My brother and his baby mama are an excellent fucking example of people that had a kid together way too soon and didn't really get along with each other. But the fact is, you can't really blame other people or be mad at other people because of things that they can't control. All you can do is try to work on what you can control in hopes of maybe seeing light at the end of the tunnel.
Like, I never amounted to anything, and I never will. Like, I have no talents, no skills, nothing to offer. I'm definitely never going to leave behind any kind of legacy. I'm going to be completely forgotten about. I'm not going to have any offsprings. I'm not going to be able to reproduce or spread my seed into this world and continue my legacy that way, which is the way that I especially wanted to, but that's not going to happen for me. And I'm going to just live alone and remain alone and just feel sorry for myself, pity myself, and hate all the young couples that I possibly can, especially if the woman in the relationship is smoking hot. Then I will especially hate any man and woman who are in a relationship where the woman is smoking hot. And, also, I really hate it whenever I go to the grocery store. Like, and I'm not just talking about Valentine's Day, because I don't go out on Valentine's Day anywhere. Thank God I don't. But even on other days of the year that I go out in public and go to the grocery store, which isn't that often, it's certainly not as often as most other people go to the grocery store, because I rarely ever have any money myself. And even if or when I have a job and am making money and do have money of my own to spend on things I need or want, I even then rarely go to the store because I don't have that many days off of work, even though I wish I did. And the only way that realistically I could probably have as many days off of work as I want, like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, is if I just straight up lie to my supervisor or manager or whatever and say that, I have another job on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so I can never work those 3 days of the week. And so you're going to have to get somebody else to do that every time. And, those people can get paid overtime at least, but, you know, that's the only realistic way that I could get those days off is by straight up lying, which is unfortunate that I would have to do that. But I have to do what I have to do. But even if I did have the days off of work that I would prefer, being Friday, Saturday, and Sunday back to back, one after another, just 3 days, but still work most of the week, which would be 4 days, Monday through Thursday. I mean, that would be really convenient for me and considerate and generous and thoughtful. But obviously, that's never going to happen. And America is seems like it's never going to be a country where they're going to give workers more days off of work a week and also give workers the days off that they want. Now, unless I were able to find like a flexible job that maybe I could do that. I don't know. But, anyways, even if I had more days off of work, if or when I do have a job, which I currently do not, and go to the grocery store to like buy food or whatever, like I see so many couples and I hate that shit so much. And it just triggers me. It makes my blood boil. And when I do go to this grocery store and see all these young couples and see so many attractive women that are in relationship with guys who are lucky, blessed, fortunate, and privileged, unlike me, a lot of times, of course, and obviously, which is only understandable, a lot of these young women, a lot of these young hot women, that is, will have kids of their own, which doesn't surprise me. And I can't help but just not that these women are ever looking at me when I do it, but I can't help but scold them and think, my God, you should have been with me. You should have been dating me. You should have been married to me and not that fucking guy you're with.
Excuse me, dickhead, but what right exactly do you have to bitch about other people being happy and in relationships with someone else when you can't even string together a fucking sentence? Again, I will never discredit someone being sad or alone. I don't mean to discredit him being genuinely depressed or alone or sad. I think everyone's been there at least once or twice in their life. Even women go through like patches of that shit in high school and even in college or even as an adult. But that doesn't change the fact that bitching and moaning about it is not going to make the person like you, and it's not going to make the person want to be around you. You have no right to complain about someone else being in a relationship with someone just because you're envious of them, because realistically, the reason that person and the other person are together is because the person had the balls to approach them and actually try to make the effort. You strike me as the kind of person that wouldn't make the fucking effort unless you were literally held at gunpoint and told to do exactly what the person said otherwise. I mean, you've even admitted that you don't believe in self-improvement, so that means that your temperament and your problem when it comes down to handling people not agreeing with you and being able to handle a disagreement, it would massively fly in the face of trying to have a relationship, because when you're in a relationship, a lot of it becomes adjusting to the other person's behavior so that you guys can accommodate each other and work together as a team. And you don't believe in self-improvement. You don't believe in trying to get better. And that's why I just don't believe that a relationship is for you, because the relationship isn't just based upon what you want, it's based upon what both of you need. And if you can't wrap your head around that at almost 30 years of age, you're never fucking going to.
You know, I hate women who go for the wrong guys, and it's like they always do. They always do. It's like they never don't go for the wrong guys. I don't know, but anyways, that's all I really wanted to say in today's video. I didn't want this video to be too long, but let me know what you all think in the comment section down below. I'm out.
Honestly, Isaac, the only kind of guy that would actually be considered the wrong kind of guy is someone that's actually fucking abusive. That's what would be considered the wrong kind of guy. Realistically, you're closer to the wrong kind of guy than most men who you would label as the wrong kind of guy. Because a lot of your behavior is very concerning, especially when it comes down to your anger, spite, and vindictiveness towards women. It really makes one wonder if you yourself wouldn't be the wrong kind of guy. I mean, let's be honest, everyone hates abusive men, regardless of whether or not you think the person's a Chad or not. And you do have some behavior that is very similar to the behavior that a lot of abusive men have to their partners. You have no right to complain about the wrong kind of guy, because realistically, you strike me as the kind of person that might be the wrong kind of guy, especially when you consider all the really troubling behaviors you exhibit when it comes down to how you deal with women.